Hello and welcome to the Empowered Women's Project, a podcast and community made by women for women to help you live your best life and reconnect you back to the things that really matter. Today I am sharing a little impromptu moment that I had with my children. For those of you that don't know, we homeschool our kids, and we've been so impacted over the last 20 years by some incredible leaders and mentors and personal development that's really shaped our belief around our net worth, around generating wealth. Conversations that I got to have with my kids this past week were things that I wish I had have learnt when I was 11 and 13, not in my 30s and 40s. And it not only was it a lesson, but we had a moment that it just brought me to tears, seeing how much of a little sponge they both are and what is already transpiring from what we're teaching them around having an intention with your life, being clear on what your goals and your vision is for your future. And, we try and do our best to teach our kids and we hope they're listening. But this was a moment that I realized how much they actually have taken in. And it was so special. The feedback that I've had, because originally this is from an IGTV that I did, the feedback I've had from so many people is like, I wish I had have learnt this when I was a kid. And number two, you need to help us pass these lessons on to our children as well. So hopefully this will help you either make your own realizations for yourself around your net worth and abundance and creating an intention of that attraction of the things that you truly want, as well as if you do have kids and you want to pay it forward and pass it on to them, the conversations you can have with them in a way that makes it so simple, but they can start implementing and you see that change transpire, and it is just the best. I was one big goosebump and I got so teary in this conversation. So looking forward to sharing this with you, and then I hope that it helps you in some way on your journey. Let's jump in. So I'm just here with my boys with our homeschooling lesson today, teaching them all around net worth. And net worth is definitely something that I don't think I really learnt about until I was a grown-up, which is fine, but teaching them this, getting them to understand the principles that, to actually create wealth in your life, it's not about having lots of stuff, it's actually owning the things that you have and not overspending as well. So we've been talking about this. Zave, do you want to share, do you want to share something that you just learned about what does net worth mean?
Well, it's things you own, like the money that you own and not that you owe to the bank.
Right.
And it's better to have less things but own them. And if you have, the more net worth you have, the more freedom you have and choices and impact.
I love it. Awesome. Thanks, buddy. So we're so passionate about helping people create more net worth, more freedom, more choices, and more impact. And when we can start to teach our upcoming generation this as well, it's setting them up where they don't have to necessarily live a life where someone's telling them what they're worth, trading time for money, although there's nothing wrong with that. But if we are looking to create a spectacular life where we can have choices, we can make impact, we can give back to others, it's really hard to do that if we're just exchanging time for money. So teaching them about investing, we've been looking into cryptocurrency and other investments. And so it's been really, really cool to open up this conversation with them. And I encourage you to do the same. I know for me growing up, money was not really something that was spoken about in our family, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the more you can be transparent with the kids around, well, if you have a credit card, guess what? What you're buying, you're paying all of this extra money to the bank if you don't pay it off straight away. It might be like a good idea, but I've had so many friends, I remember even when I was in my 20s, that had no idea of the concept of a credit card, and if they were just paying the minimum repayment, what that actually meant, if they were just to pay the minimum repayment of $1,000, $2,000, that they would potentially take 20 years to pay that back, and the amount of interest that they would be paying the bank over time was absolutely huge. So it's so important to have the discussion around money with your children, like from a young age. It doesn't matter how old they are. I remember I first spoke to the kids about, they were asking about has said, Bodhi, I don't know if you remember, he's over here having a little moment. He said, Mum, I can't wait till I get a credit card. And I said, really? Tell me about that. And he's like, oh, because I can buy things. And I taught him the difference between do you remember, Bodhi? What was the difference?
Debit card and a credit card.
Come over here. I know you don't want to talk, but I'm going to make you. So you learned about a debit card and a credit card. What's the difference?
When you're using your own money and when you're using the bank's money.
Right. And so...
you have to pay them back.
And you have to pay them back. And what happens if we don't pay them back on time?
You get interest.
You get interest.
Interest repayments, yeah. So then I was like, well, you want to have a debit card, right? And he's like, that's what I want. And so, it's just having these conversations. I think Boo would have been maybe 8 years old at the time when we were speaking about this. And it was just so cool to be able to have that discussion and have him really see, just because I think today as well, kids see parents paying for things with a piece of plastic or their phone. You just hover it over, the EFTPOS machine and magically it appears, or we type a few things into the computer and then stuff gets delivered to our house. We don't actually see a physical exchange of money. And I almost feel like saying back in the olden days, when I had a job, my first job, it was a cash job. And, I was so mindful of my money because I had it in my hands. And when I would get paid, I had a bank account and I would put money into the bank account to save it. But I deliberately didn't have a debit card because my friends that did, they would be like, their money would be spent before they'd even gone to their, to their shift at Macca's or KFC or whatever it was. Because they were just in that habit of spending. And for me, I always put money aside. And I'm really proud that, when I think I was 19, I had over 20 grand saved from my jobs that I was doing. And at one point I had 3 jobs that I was working, and thanks to Mum and Dad for not charging me any rent at all. But, I was in a position where I had 20 grand in the bank, and I was like, wow. And it was because I wasn't in that habit of, I'll just pull that out and go pay for it. I felt the money and I knew what it meant to create and to work for that. So it's so important that we have these discussions around net worth. And so I would encourage you to sit down and actually do a little exercise. And you might not want to do this because it might reveal a bit of a frustrating truth. And you're better off knowing where you're at. What you measure grows, and what you don't measure, if we just kind of sweep it under the rug, we're potentially putting ourselves in a position where we don't get to create choices and freedom and impact in our future. And so I encourage you to spend some time and sit down and look at everything that you own, everything that is an asset. It might be a property, it might be cash in the bank, it might be, a lot of things. We try and say it's an asset, but it's really not. Like a lot of things like cars, they depreciate in value. If you buy a brand new car, and you drive it out the lot, it's lost its value. It's not worth the same. You buy a car for 50 grand, you drive it out the driveway and it's not worth 50 grand anymore. So there's things that lose value, but there's things that appreciate. And so, look at how much cash you have in the bank right now. How much credit card debt do you have? If you own a home, well, maybe the house is worth $400,000, for example, or apartment. It's worth $400,000 and you owe $300,000 on it. Well, your net worth on that is $100,000. But then if you've got debt and other things, your goal is to look at what you can do to increase your net worth. Your net worth creates choices and freedom and impact. And if you aren't sure about that, feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to kind of talk you through it. We're going to be talking lots more on our podcast around this as well. But if you don't know where you're at, it's really hard to grow from where you don't know where you're at. And it's easy to not hit the mark because we are going or working towards something and actually not actually getting any closer to it. So hopefully that's been insightful. We're loving the conversation, aren't we, mate? You're enjoying it? And so just teaching the kids about how they can be investing in things that will create value and impact, and it not necessarily be around trading time for money as well. Yeah? So what's something after today and our lesson, what's something that you're going to do each day so that you can measure things and track where you're at?
check the value, or check my net worth. My net worth value, how much I have each day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And were there some affirmations that you were going to read as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to share one of them?
Okay. One of them was, I trust that my visions for the future will unfold beautifully in unpredictable ways.
Ooh. What does that mean to you?
Means that the future, or your visions for the future will happen, but just you're not sure which way.
Right. So we don't know exactly how it's going to look.
It's sort of unpredictable.
Yeah.
But it will happen.
Yeah. So knowing that the universe has our back, but if you don't have a vision for your future, then it's kind of hard to reach it too, isn't it?
Then others make the vision for you, sort of.
Yeah. Good point, Xavier. And let me just reiterate that if you don't have a vision for your future, you're going to be a part of someone else's vision. And so for some of you, that's great. And you're really happy with that. And others, it's like, hang on a second. You're finding yourself in a place where you're maybe missing out on magic moments. You're working in a job, it's paying the bills you don't love. You don't have enough time for your well-being, for your fitness, for time with your kids. Maybe your relationship's breaking down, like whatever it is, because you haven't spent the time to have a crystal clear vision of what it is that you want for your future. And so I love what you just said, Zave. I think you might have learnt that from us, possibly. Do you think? No, you just know this. Do you want to say it again?
If you don't have a vision for the future for yourself, then you'll be part of someone else's.
Yeah.
And be working for them.
Yes. Dropping gold, my man. I love it. And so in order for you to be able to trust that your vision for the future will unfold, you need to have one to start with, don't you?
Yes.
Do you remember, so we're sitting in our office right now, and as we built this, do you remember the process that we went through on our walls?
Oh yeah, before we painted the walls, we wrote some of our visions on them.
Yeah.
On these walls.
On these walls. And do you remember maybe one of the visions that you wrote there? Oh, this little ant.
I remember I said that I wanted to be an underwater photographer for scuba diving.
Oh my gosh, I just got the biggest goosebumps. So you said you wanted to be an underwater photographer for scuba diving. What did you do a week ago?
Oh yeah, I went scuba diving at Cook Island.
You did your first dive ever. Do you think that part of your vision on this wall is starting to come to reality? Oh my gosh, I didn't even, that is so cool. See? Having a vision for the future. Oh my gosh, I want to cry. That's just so cool. I think about some of the things that I've written in my life on paper, and that was one of the reasons why we went through this process with the kids, was to get them really clear on what they wanted, and that when you put intention into it, you can create it and attract it. So to have that realization just now that that's already happening, far out. The universe has your back. It always does. And so I hope that you take some time for yourself to, take a look at your net worth. And if it's not where you want it to be, then it's about just getting educated. Something that I'm really big on is multiple streams of income. You want to create multiple streams of income so you're not dependent on just one thing. Super important. And then teaching your kids. So once you start to get that worked out, teaching these people, because these guys are our future. And if you can, one of my missions is that my ceiling is their floor. That what I start to learn, that they get to learn from what we have done and the mistakes we've made. They're still going to make their own mistakes, no doubt. Hey, Xavier, it happens all the time, but that's okay, because what happens when we make a mistake?
We learn from it.
We learn from it, exactly. So if you don't make mistakes, you're not learning and growing, and so you just got to put yourself out there. So I hope that you put some time into looking at your net worth. You start looking at what your vision for the future is. If you have a wall that needs to be repainted in your house, get to work and start writing your dreams and vision down with your children. Have them go through the process as well and paint over it. And you just, and if you live in a rental and you don't need to paint a room, write it in a journal. It doesn't matter what you do, but it is just so powerful when you put clarity and intention into the vision that you want for your future. And like I was teaching the kids this morning, increasing your net worth allows you more
Freedom.
More freedom
And choices.
More choices.
And impact.
And more impact. And that's my hope for you. And your freedom and choices and impact could come in big or small ways. Whatever that is for you is perfect. So maybe it's giving back to a charity that you're really passionate about. Boo, we were talking about that before. What was, as your net worth increases, and we teach you more about this, what's maybe some charities that you would love to give back to?
To the ocean and the plastic in it.
Helping that. Yeah, we just watched the documentary, A Plastic Ocean, with the kids, and it was really, really sad seeing what's going on, wasn't it? So you want to give back, and what else?
People with no eyesight.
People who have lost their sight. So there's a beautiful charity out that is operated in Bali called the John Fawcett Foundation, and we were blessed to be able to spend time with them there and help with eye checks and testing and glasses and removal of cataracts in elderly as well as children. And it was like $70 US. It was only $70 US was able to pay for someone to get their sight back. It's pretty amazing, huh? It's cool, boo. I love it. And then your impact, maybe it's your family. Maybe it's giving back to them. Maybe it's creating magic moments. It doesn't matter how big or small your vision might seem, but if you don't have one, it's probably not going to become your reality. So just wanted to drop in some truth bombs. This is our homeschooling lesson for the day. And it just, I hope that you've been inspired in some way to put time into your focus and realize that money is energy. And an affirmation I like to have for myself is that money is energy and it's always flowing to me. And looking at ways that I can make impact, create choices and freedom for myself, my family, my team, and all of the beautiful people that we get to work with as well. So any last words, Z? No? Okay. You've done well. You've so Xavier and Bodhi, they're both written down. They've got their affirmations around their abundance and net worth. They're going to be checking their accounts because we've taught them some investing, so they're learning how to do that. And showing them that yes, we can go and we can work and add value with people, but we can also make smart investments to be able to create additional streams of income as well. So it's really cool to have these conversations. And I can only imagine where these guys are going to be in a couple of years from now, probably teaching me. I'll be sitting the one in the classroom learning from them, which is pretty cool. Anyway, have a beautiful day and look forward to sharing more with you on the journey.
Bye.
Thanks, Dee. Bye, boo. So there you go. I hope that you enjoyed that little behind the scenes tour of my life in homeschooling our kids. And, I really believe that whether your children are being homeschooled or you're just raising them well, it's important to, have topics of conversation that aren't taught in school that I personally believe should be, because, I'm coaching and mentoring a lot of 20, 30 and 40-year-olds and some that are still learning these principles, at that age. So the more we can empower ourselves, the more we can empower our children, the more conversations we can have around this, the more confident and savvy we can become. And, I really believe that when you can create and increase your net worth, you get to create more impact, freedom, and choice, right? It means that you can give back to a charity. It means that you can give back to someone you love. It means that you can be there for magic moments. It means that you can, pursue a career or start a new business venture or, build an investment portfolio that allows you to become the best version of yourself. It's not about accumulating things and buying stuff just to make you happy. That's not where it's at. So these conversations are so important and powerful and meaningful, and I really hope that you got something from that today. We always love feedback, so if there's any particular topics that we can speak more into in the future, please let us know. And if you haven't already, it would be amazing if you would share some love and head across to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and a review. It just helps us reach more people with our message, and we're always looking for empowered people to help interview of you and share their message too. Until next time, have a beautiful day.